Hello, I'm going to go over how to tune your instrument using the fine tuners and the pegs. Okay, so I'm going to be demonstrating for violin and viola on this violin just because it's the same idea, and then I'll also show it on cello and on bass because bass is kind of its own situation. So on cello, viola, and violin, on the tailpiece here, you should have some fine tuners. Okay, the bass does not have these. The bass pegs are basically gigantic fine tuners, so they don't have these. But violin, viola, cello will probably have 4 of these. Okay, these are for small adjustments. These are like the last thing that you do when you tune, generally, if you have to make big adjustments at least. And then at the top we have our pegs. And these are for bigger adjustments, or if you play bass, it's for any adjustment. Okay, you only need to worry about these if you need to make a big adjustment, or if you don't have fine tuners. Like on my personal instruments, I only have 1 fine tuner on my violin and only 1 fine tuner on my viola, so I have to use pegs because I don't have another choice. But most of you will probably have fine tuners for every string. Okay, so you need to find a tuner or a reference pitch that can, let you know where you're going to be. I have a tuner on my phone. You can buy an actual tuner. You can find tuners online. So I am going to be using a tuner. This one I just downloaded for Samsung, or for Android. It's called Sound Corset Tuner and Metronome. Looks like that. Okay. I don't know if that's available on iPhone or not, but that's what I'm using right now. So you would click tuner at the very top, and then it will listen and tell you what note you're playing and if you're in tune or not, or you can use it as a reference pitch, which I'm going to end up doing that one instead. Yes, I got it. Thank you. So I'm going to do that, and it's going to play an A for me. Okay. Oops. So you can hear I'm not matching. I'm too low. So I'm going to use, well, this fine tuner happens to be kind of on the low side, so I'm going to loosen it so I can have it accessible again. So I'm turning it to the left to loosen. Turn the right to the tighten. So now I'm going to use the peg. So I always move the peg towards me first to make sure it's going to move. And when I know it's going to move, then I can start turning it away and pluck constantly. And I might be able to get it completely in tune with the peg. I might not even have to use the fine tuner. And if I do, cool, then I don't have to worry about it. But if I get it close, but then I just need to make a couple adjustments, then I have the fine tuner available. And this one you can change what pitch you're listening to. So now I have D, and this one is awful. Not awful, it's not good, but it's also low. That's what I was trying to say. So I'm going to loosen the fine tuner on this one as well, because it's kind of low. Okay, so now I made it even lower. So now I'm going to turn the peg, I'm going to turn it towards me, which makes the string go even lower, because I don't have to worry about breaking a string by making it go low. Worst case scenario is it pops out of the peg and I just have to put it back in. Okay, but I can break the string if I go too tight and I tighten the string too much. So if we're making sure the peg's not stuck, we're going to turn it towards us. Okay, and it moved fine. So now we turn away and we pluck. I went a little high, so I'll use the fine tuner to go lower. And it's good to double check strings that you have already done, because especially if you had to make a big adjustment, it doesn't always stay 100% in tune right away. So like the string kind of stretches and stuff, so it might go low again. So even though you finish tuning a string, it's good to go and double check. Okay, and then G. This one's close enough, I can probably just do it just with the fine tuner. Okay, so you turn it to the right to go higher, turn left to go lower. You can also think of turning the fine tuner towards your higher strings to go higher, you would turn it towards your lower strings to go lower. Okay, and then since I'm on a violin, I'm going to do E. That's pretty low too. And there we go. So now this violin is in tune. Okay, something else that you can use as a guide is for violin, viola, and cello. If you go from one string to the next highest string, it should sound like the beginning of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So, twinkle, twinkle, little star. Okay, and it works like that for each string. So you go to the next string and next string over. And same thing when you go to lowest. You can use that as a guide for that as well. So cello is the same idea, okay? It's just much larger. So we have our fine tuners and stuff down here, and then we have our pegs up here. Exact same process and everything, it's just larger. And in comparison to the violin, we do have a C string instead of an E string, but otherwise it's basically the same. So. G. We can change the octave of this too. So it goes to a lower. This one's actually a little high. So we go to the left. Okay, and then C string. Okay, and that's that. This one happened to be pretty in tune because I've been using this one. Okay, and then last, the bass is similar, kind of. It is the most unique out of all the string instruments because of the nature of everything. So for the bass, we have our pegs are different. They're gears instead of the other ones. So they function as gigantic fine tuners. So if you have to make a big adjustment, you have to turn quite a bit. Okay. So for when you are tuning and turning the pegs up here for our bass, if you're looking at the strings, they still function the same way as the fine tuners on the other instruments. They turn to the right to go higher, left to go lower. But if you're holding it like you're going to play it, then that doesn't quite work. So then turning it towards your higher strings to go higher, turn it towards your lower strings to go lower, makes a little bit more sense. Or you can think clockwise, counterclockwise kind of stuff. Okay, so we're going to get our tuner here. Do A. So that's too low, so we got to go higher. Okay, and then we go to D. This is all low. So we go to turn it higher. And the more you do this, the easier it gets. And then E. E's actually pretty good. Okay, and then for bass, you can't do the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star between the strings. Instead, going from one string to the next highest string should sound like Amazing Grace, or Oh Christmas Tree, or Here Comes the Bride. I usually think Here Comes the Bride. So I go, Here comes the bride. Okay, so if it sounds like that, then the strings are in tune. So really you need one string to be in tune. And then you can use that trick with the different songs to tune everything else. Okay, if you need to be able to see how high or low you are for a tuner, then I highly recommend either owning an actual tuner or downloading an app. Because a lot of the ones that are online are just reference pitches. So kind of like what I was doing, I had an A playing and I just had to match pitch. That is going to be really important to be able to do, to match pitch. But if you feel very unsure about your ability to do that, or you just feel more confident in your tuning if you can actually see that you got it, then I'd recommend one of the other things. There are plenty of free tuners as apps. It's just a matter of finding one that you prefer, and also what's available, because like I said, like one of my tuners that I use is not available on iPhones, so I don't know what's all out there. So I hope that's helpful. Just be careful, go slowly, especially if you have to use the pegs. My beginners, I don't recommend using the pegs yet because we haven't really talked about it yet. So beginners should really just be using fine tuners, unless you're bass. But then intermediate and advanced, you should be able to use the pegs because we have talked about it before, even though it may have been a little bit. Okay? Good luck.